My name is Michael Lennon Gutierrez, Maestro Alonso Palacio Barona, and I am non-native to this place, and I describe it that way because the people of this place were known as the Piscataway. Before they showed up, there were other peoples here as well. But about 10 years ago or so, I was invited to a gathering in the Black Hills of South Dakota, and I listened to an elder talk about their creation story. And I had gone to this event being asked to share some stuff that I was working on, and I came with slides, I came with bullet points, I came with, and I was supposed to go in it was a 4-day gathering, and the first sessions of the first day, it got skipped. And the longer I waited as I got pushed around, the more I started getting exposed to this other way of doing group. And that, they would be in circles, for example, instead of speakers and speaking to, in circles, and they kept on going around the circle, and somebody would say something, and they would keep on going around the circle until there was nothing left to say. And I was like, how do these people ever get anything done? And it was driving me crazy, absolutely crazy. But I was given a slot on the last day, right before I do my presentation. What I would say, the person who invited me said, well, that was colonial. And the woman who was the alpha grandmother, if you will, came up and gave me a hug. So I wasn't never sure if I how I did. But after that, at the end of that event, there was a circle around a fire. And one of the things about 4 days of talking in circles was that at the end of that, even though you might not have a specific go this way or go that way, it's like everybody had a feeling about which way to go. And I was like, wow, how I know to do this is not, doesn't get at that. There's a relational soil, something that gets created that the way I know to do doesn't know to do. And so that was kind of like, oh, well, that's interesting, so what? I then sit around the final campfire, and somebody asked one of the elders to tell a story. And he starts talking about how there's a cave down the road called the Wind Cave that is a lot deeper than the white man knows. The white man says that it goes out a couple 100 feet, but they know that it goes all the way to the center of the earth. And that out of that cave, the wolf led the 2-legged humans onto the plains and introduced them to the bison people and was explaining, and then to the standing ones, the trees, and there was a tree behind him. And he turns around and starts greeting this tree, and kind of like really greeting the tree, and really like loving on this tree. And I was like, I don't know what that man is doing, but whatever's going on right there is not in my story, is not in my frame of reference. And this is where all of this is going. It was the beginning of a kind of, I don't know something I don't know. And a clue to that came to me not too long ago in the form of a book by a Potawatomi scientist and lover of plants, who opened up her book with 2 creation stories. And that's kind of what sparked me to, because she first tells about how in their tradition, creation happens there, everything was dark, and out of the sky, out of the pantheon where the gods were, Sky Woman falls out of the sky and down towards the earth that was covered with water. And as she's falling, some geese see her, and they sweep up to rescue her and keep her from colliding on the water. And so they first save her, they start taking her down slowly, And a turtle that is seeing this as it's going by comes by and offers its back as the place to stand. And so she rests and recovers on the turtle's back. Turtle Island, by the way, is the word for by the woodland Native Americans, the eastern and northern part of this continent. That is the basis of the story. And so the turtle offers its back, and she pulls out a spark and makes fire, and other plants and animals all come and co-create this relationship, out of which creation is a co-creation into what in the biblical story is, some would say, the Garden of Eden. And she wondered, because she's like, can you imagine if the people who came here, referring to all of us basically in the Abrahamic story, if we had been grounded in that story, instead of a story where woman is created out of man, instead of, like the last thing created in the act of creation is in their story is man is created out of clay, but woman has already been there, the plants have already been there, and then man goes on a learning journey to come into better relation with each of the directions and learns different things from the earth, from the directions and such. In the biblical story, as we all know, Adam is granted dominion over the earth, and it is the temptation of woman that breaks man out of the ideal state and then frames what all of eternity then becomes, a kind of coming back to, fix yourself back into what needs fixing. And so, we don't always realize that we're living in a story, that has, that we may not have chosen, that we may not, once we hear other stories, we're like, there might be other ways of doing this than, the point of my life is to fix and dominate, or to be the center of creation is humanity, and not other ways of being in relation. So the thing is, it can be uncomfortable because, I remember when I first started considering whether patriarchy was such a bad thing or such a good thing. And when I started being willing to update my relationship with family members, they knew how to be with me as, in that role. And if all of a sudden I wanted to be more tender or switch things around, it's like, no. And so sometimes the people you think were the perpetrators or the victims of the story are just as eager to keep the story going on its current path, because it means everybody's got to change in ways that nobody knows exactly how it's going to go. So I love new stories, but I get lost. And it's sometimes hard to know, how to turn, what to turn to anchor in the story, to anchor in each other, to turn to nature. What does nature have to